Hi. Okay. Hello. Hi, Miss T. Hi, Landness Realty. Good morning or good afternoon. It's 12. It's past 12. Hi. Okay, thank you for joining. Welcome to our live. Hi. My name is Roslyn. I know if you are one of our regular followers on these our weekly live broadcasts, I don't think anybody has seen my face here. My name is Roslyn, and thank you all for joining us today. I'll just wait a couple of minutes more for a few more people to join before I start. So our today's live, we're going to be talking about student visas and what is happening currently. What are you supposed to expect from what is happening currently, the Omicron and other issues. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on. So if you or anybody you know is in the process of applying for their student visas, if you're waiting for your cars, or if you already have your cars and you want to start the processing and you just want to get information about how this is supposed to happen, then this is for you. Hi. Thank you, Landness Realty. Hi. Okay, so we have 13 people, so let's see if we can get up to 15 and then we'll officially start our live. Haj Ahmed, thank you for joining. Okay, hi. Haj Ahmed, when I'm done with giving you the information I want to give you, then yes, of course, you can join our live. I will take questions, so you can either drop your questions on the comments or you can actually request to join this video and I will be accepting your request. But for now, let's just start. We're 15, so we can start. So for now, let me give you the information and then you can ask all the questions once I'm done, right? Okay, so like the post that actually talks about the topic of this live is information about what can cause delays, things that are within and beyond our control. So there are certain things right now that we cannot control about delays in getting your student visas, and one of the top reasons for that is the recent COVID variants, the new COVID variant that just came about a couple of weeks ago, called Omicron. Now this Omicron is making certain countries, and the UK inclusive, to come out with rules and laws to protect themselves, and unfortunately it is affecting visa processing for some people. So for visitors and every other person that wants to go into the UK for business, leisure, maybe for short courses, right now you cannot even process your visa. While for student visas, we're anticipating that there are going to be delays, right? So before we go in, I'm just going to start with what are the general information about visa processing, so that I know that you guys understand what I'm talking about when I get to that particular point. So for visa processing, if you're a student and you want to process your visa, a standard visa takes about 3 weeks. So if you pay for your visa application fee and then you put in your application, once you submit your biometrics, it takes 3 weeks for a standard visa to be processed. And then if you want this to be done faster, it takes about a week. This is an additional paid service. It's about £220 for you to fast track your visa processing. Then there's even a faster one called the super priority. This takes 24 hours. So if you want to process your visa within 24 hours, you pay for it. It's about 960 something pounds. I don't know the exact figure, but it's about over 900 pounds. So these are services that, you know, people could actually purchase in the past or until recently, right? But what we've been noticing recently is that even for standard visa that is supposed to take about 3 weeks, now takes longer than 3 weeks. So it overshoots the normal processing time by a couple of days or even a couple of weeks. So we now see some people actually having to wait 5 weeks, 6 weeks, or even up to 2 months for a decision to be reached on the applications. And then even for priority, which is supposed to take 1 week, we're seeing it take up to 2 weeks, right? So even before now, there have actually been delays. And one of the reasons for these delays was because of the overwhelming applications that the visa office was getting from people who are applying for visitors visas for whatever reason, right? So it was always also affecting the timelines for student visas, right? So so basically that was what was causing delays. So now the update is that they are no longer going to be processing visas for visiting, for leisure, business, or whatever the case, but student visa is still going to be ongoing. However, we are expecting that this might actually cause some delays, right, because of the Omicron variant. Now, because of the Omicron COVID variant. Now, what can you do as a student to make sure that your visa application is going to be processed in time for you to actually get your visa before your program starts? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, so I have a couple of pointers here that's just going to be, you know, pointing me to the right direction. Okay, so let me just give some information here. So now, if you have your student visa, right, it qualifies you to actually enter into the UK as of now. Whatever information I'm giving to you now is as of today, right? There might be an update to this, and we'll be updating you if there's going to be any change in information or communication, right? So as of now, if you're going to be traveling to the UK on a student visa, you are going to be allowed into the UK as a temporary resident. So right now, starting from 4 o'clock on Monday, nobody can enter into the UK from Nigeria if you are not on a resident permit or you are not a citizen. Now, for anybody entering into the UK on a resident permit, be it students or permanent resident or a citizen, you are required to quarantine for 10 days, and the government is going to be in charge of this. Now, the fee for this is £225, and it covers your COVID test, covers transportation from the airport to the location where you're going to be quarantined in. It covers your feeding and everything. So if you wanted to travel to actually resume your course, then yes, you can actually travel to resume, but you are expected to pay £2,285. So I'm telling you this because I do not want people who are still waiting for their cars to think that they cannot apply for their visas and they will not be able to travel. You can travel. It just means that you have to come up with over £2,000. So visa processing for students is still ongoing. I bet it might be delayed. Then another update is that you will no longer be able to apply for priority or super priority. That service has been discontinued. So right now, everybody processing visas would only be able to put in the standard application, and you can no longer fast track your application. So right now, ideally, the standard processing is supposed to be 3 weeks, but we do not know how long standard processing is going to take from now on. So it might take 4 weeks, it might take 5 weeks, it might take the 3 weeks, so we do not know. So right now, there is no way to actually fast track your application. And for people who have already started, who have already put in applications and have already paid for priority visa processing, then you are advised to actually request for a refund, because your priority payment is not going to take effect. So you have to request for a refund. Yeah. So that's that on visa processing. So I'm going to advise anyone here who has not actually started their visa processing to actually start now. I know most schools or most institutions start date is on the 10th or 17th of January. So if you're putting in your application, say within this week or next week, and you don't have a biometric date yet, and you no longer have access to priority visa processing, then we should assume that your visa is going to be coming out anytime within the 2nd, 3rd, or even last week of January. So you probably will not have as much time as you think, to be able to get your visa. Hope isn't going to affect admission. No, it does not affect admission in school. It doesn't affect admission in school. The only thing that it affects right now is your ability to get your visa out on time for you to be able to travel in time to make your resume school. That's what it affects. And then it also means that you're also going to be paying for quarantining. The government is going to be receiving £2,285 from you to quarantine for 10 days, which covers your accommodation and everything that you're going to need for that period. So that's really what it means. It does not affect students as of now. So if you haven't started, please, you're going to have to start very, very quickly so you can make it in time for your studies. Now I'm going to be giving you information on what you can do, to actually fast track this. If any of this applies to you, please talk to us if you need further information. So I'm going to be giving you the things that you can do that are within your control right now. So one is, if you are still waiting for your CAS, for those of you who have applied and waiting for your CAS, if you're still waiting for your CAS, without your CAS you cannot actually start your visa application, right? So if you're still waiting for your CAS and you have paid your fees, and if your school required you to actually have an interview and you have actually done that and you're waiting for it, please contact your school, follow up with them and tell them to help you fast track your getting your CAS. And if you have to have an interview with the school, please contact them and tell them to schedule you for your CAS interview so that you can fast track getting your CAS out on time, because visa processing right now, let's just give it like a month, right? Right now is average a month. So you need to start, letting them know that you, right now Nigeria is affected, is on the red list. So you want to have it, they should prioritize your case so that you can actually have your visa out on time. Your CAS out on time. Then another thing you can do while you're waiting for your CAS, if you know that you have already started the process for your CAS, you've paid and everything, and it's just for your CAS to, how long does it take for a school to grant you admission? Okay, so I'm going to go through this. Once I'm done, I'm going to go through this and I'm going to answer your questions individually, right? So let me just give this info so that I can now start taking questions. So if you know that your CAS, so for those of you that do not know what CAS is, confirmation of acceptance for studies, that's what it means. So this is the document that you get once the school has admitted you, and then they are confirming that they have admitted you into that particular program. And this is what you're going to submit, when you're making your visa application, to show that a school has actually granted you admission and they are aware that you're applying for a visa. So that's your CAS, right? So without that, you cannot apply. So if you are still waiting for your CAS, and your CAS is going to come in, say, within a week or 2 or 3 weeks, the other important document that you have to, get before you can put in for your visa is your financial evidence, right? So your bank statement. Now, your bank statement has to show your, if you have not paid your school fees, if you just made a deposit, it has to show the balance of your tuition, and it has to show your upkeep, the funds that is required for your upkeep. So if you're in London, it's about £12,007. If you're outside of London, it's about £9,206 or £207 thereabouts. So you have to have the equivalent of your the balance of your tuition and your upkeep money in your account. And if you're going to be applying with your family as well, you have to have your family's upkeep. So maybe your wife or your husband and your kids, for each of them it's £6,120. So you have to have the equivalent of that in your account for 28 days, right? For 28 days. Now within these 28 days, your money cannot drop below what you're supposed to have. So let's take, for instance, if you're a single applicant and you have made certain payments to the school and you have a balance of a couple of thousand more pounds, and then your upkeep and all this amounts to about 10 million, right? You have to have 10 million in your account for up to 28 days. If the money falls below 10 million by even 1 naira, then it becomes a problem. It means you have to start counting again from when it is 10 million and above, right? So what we advise is, while you're still waiting for your cash, make sure your bank account is reading the money that you're supposed to have, right? So that by the time your cash is out, your bank statement is almost ready. So you're not going to be delaying or wasting time. So because some people wait to get cash and then they are now counting their 28 days. So that's another extra 28 days you have to wait before you can actually put in an application, and right now there's absolutely no time. So if you're still waiting for your cash, please, and you want more information on this, just contact us and then we'll give you the right information on when to start, so that you can actually have that document ready, right? So that's those that are waiting for cash and what you can do in the meantime. So another thing you can do in the meantime while you're waiting for your cash and your bank statement to get ready is to also get your other documentations ready. So you need to have your tuberculosis tests. For those of you who are not able to register online, you're advised to actually go to their office and try, right? Register in person so that you can have your test. You need that. You cannot apply for your visa without it. If you have kids coming with you, you have to get their attestation letter from their schools. And since December is coming, I'm sure schools are going to be going on vacation very soon. So if you don't want to start running helter-skelter, calling one teacher or principal to come and give you a letter or whatever, if you know you're going to be needing these documents for your kids, you are advised to get them now, right? If you want to work with us, we can give you a sample that you can share with the school and then help get them to create a similar document for you to cover for your kids. And then also there are some people who have peculiar situations that would require other documentation that some people might not require. So you might need an affidavit, say maybe the name on your passport is different from the name on your certificate, right? An affidavit will cover for that. Now, you do not wait until you actually need it to get it. You can actually get this while you're waiting for your cash. You might need an affidavit for, say, maybe you're a divorced parent and you want to take your kids without your partner. There are certain documentations you need to get ready. So you need to start getting all these documentations ready, before your cash actually becomes available, so that you can put in your applications immediately your cash becomes available, right? So what's the next? So just hold on, I'm looking at my pointers here. Okay, so another thing that can actually cause delays that we advise you to start working on is if you are someone who the last study you have, like your BSc, you're going for a master, your BSc, the difference in timeline is 10 years and above. What we've been seeing or what we've been noticing lately is that the visa office or your visa officer handling your case, they usually now require further documentation to see what you have been doing within that period of time. So if you put in an application and standard timeline for your application to be processed is 3 weeks, if they are requesting for further documentation, that's adding another extra 1 or 2 weeks to your application before you get your decision made. So what we do if we see that you have had 10 years and above, you have 10 years and above, years over when you studied your BSc and now that you're going for your masters, we advise you on the documents that you can put, supporting documents that can show what you've been doing within this period of time, so that there is no need for them to start asking you to provide certain documentations to explain what you have been doing within that period. And also for people who have had bans, who have had previous refusals, we also like to check the reasons for these refusals. Some refusals can, fly, right? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect the decision, that the visa officer is going to take or is going to take regarding your application. But there are also some refusals that is actually going to taint your application, which will now require them to request for either further documentation or even schedule an interview with you. And anything that make them request for documentation or for interview, that's adding at least another 1 week to your application, give or take. So if your application is supposed to take 3 weeks or 4 weeks, additional 1 to 2 weeks, because they have requested for further documentation from you. So if you fall within this category, you need to speak with us so that we can know how to actually get this documentation that you're going to need to avoid them requesting for further documentation or an interview from you, so as not to elongate the timeline that you're going to be working with. So that's something that you can do on your end. Okay, so I think I've actually gone through everything that I have. So now I'm going to be taking questions so that I can answer people's specific, inquiries. So I'm going to be going through this and checking where I've actually gotten questions. And once I'm done with this, anybody who is interested in joining us live can also go ahead and request, and I'm going to be approving that. So I'm just scrolling through to see what questions. But hope this isn't going to affect admission in school in the UK already. No. So if you're already admitted right now, it does not affect. If you already have your CAS, please start your application now. Contact us and we'll help you put in your application for yourself and your family if you're going with your family, right? It does not affect you. All you need is just, for now at least, all you need is just the money you're going to use for quarantining when you get there, which is £2,285. How long does it take for school to grant you admission? Okay, so if you've not put in admission already, if you're not putting an application for admission already, by now it's actually too late, because most schools have already finalized admission processing, and the ones that they are giving now are people who have actually already put in the application. So, and it also depends on the school. Some schools will take 2 weeks from when you submit the application. Some schools will take up to a month. Some schools will take up to 2 months. So it just depends on their processing timeline. As long as all your documentations are complete and correct as at the time that you're applying, you are going to be getting an unconditional offer. Right? An unconditional offer means that they have given you admissions without requiring further documentation from you. Now, if your documentations are not complete, or there are certain issues they have with 1 or 2 of your documentations, they will be giving you a conditional offer and requesting for you to update the documentation list. So for instance, if your personal statement is not up to their standard, they might tell you to submit another one. If your English language test score is not up to their standard, maybe your WAEC is too old, they might request for an English test, so you might have to take an English test. If say your school transcript, you have not been able to get your school transcript to them, you submitted your student copy while making the application, then they'll request that the school sends them your official transcript. So for whatever reason that they are requiring further documentation from you, they are going to give you a conditional offer. Then when you meet the conditions of that offer, they will change the conditional offer to an unconditional offer, and you can now go ahead to make your payment. And if the school requires an interview before they give you your CAS, you have to go for your interview. If they do not require an interview, they just require your payment to be made, then they'll go ahead and give you your CAS. Once you have your CAS, you can go ahead and apply for your visa. So if you're looking to go in for 2022 January intake, then it's almost too late, if not too late right now. I have to confirm from our admissions department if there are actually any schools who are still open, for admission processing. But most schools right now are completely closed, and they're already accepting applications for September 2022. So if you're looking to apply for September 2022, yes, that is open. You can contact us for that. Okay, so for people that applied for priority before the ban, if your application have already been been processing before that, I am assuming, I do not have any confirmation. Please do not hold these words to Rose from NextZ that said this, please. But I am assuming that if you have already paid and your application has already started processing, that you cannot request for a refund, and that means that they would actually give you your decision faster than someone that is on a standard visa. So say you paid and say you submitted your biometrics on Wednesday and you paid for a priority, right? I don't think you can actually request for your money now, because they've actually started attending to your application for that Thursday, Friday. Unfortunately, Monday, as a Monday, that was when all this information came out. So I don't think you can request. So I am assuming that you are still going to be processed as a priority. However, if you're not going to be processed as a priority, you're going to be receiving an email to that effect. So if your application is going to go beyond the timeline that you have actually paid for, you are going to receive an email informing you that your application is going to drag, or further investigations are being made on your application, or whatever reasons they're going to have. You're going to be informed. But for people who actually paid and are did their biometrics from Monday upwards till now and even till next week, if you've actually already paid, then there is no priority. You have to request for a refund. Your application is not going to be prioritized, although right now a lot of conversations are still happening around these topics that I'm talking about. So tomorrow they can also still come up and say they have already reinstated priority and people can go on and pay. But this information I'm giving you right now is as of today, right? So if there's any updates, I am going to update you on that. So is there a deadline for CAS? A deadline for CAS? No, there is no deadline for CAS. As long as the school has given you your CAS, there is no deadline as of I don't understand. There's no deadline for CAS. The issue here is you need to get your CAS on time so you can start your application on time. Now there is a deadline for resumption. So most schools are resuming either on the 10th of January or on the 17th of January, which is third week of January. And then they have a latest date of resumption. So some schools' latest dates is around the ending of January. Some is around second week of February, right? So even if you're unable to get your visa to resume school before your resumption date, there is a latest date of resumption. Now, if you're getting your CAS late, then that's what you're going to be working with. You're going to be working with the latest date of resumption. Now, if you're going to be overshooting this date, then it's going to be a problem if you do not pre-inform the university that you're having issues either with your application or with moving or whatever the case, so that they can give you a go-ahead to actually resume after the date that has been stipulated on your CAS, because your CAS is going to have information on when you're to resume, latest resumption dates, and when you're expected to graduate, right? So there is no deadline as such for CAS. There's deadline for resumption, and it is important that you get your CAS on time so that you can so that you can start processing your visa and make the deadline for your school resumption. Yes, dependents can apply for visa now. It does not stop as long as it's on the student visa. Your dependents, your kids, your wife, everybody can apply for your visa now. Just make sure that you have enough money in your account to cover for them, and everybody is going to be processed on a standard basis. There's no priority anymore. What rate? Okay, so officially the embassy, the home office uses Rwanda rate as at the time when your application is being processed, and we all know that Rwanda fluctuates, goes up and goes down. But for us, what we do is that we always advise that whatever is on Rwanda rates, you add 40 to 50 naira on it. So if Rwanda is say 570, we tell you to calculate with like about 620. So if you are supposed to have a total of say 15,000 pounds, we do not advise you to times 15,000 pounds times 570, what you're seeing on the Rwanda as at the time you're making your application. We advise you to add 40 to 50 naira to it, because anything can happen. Our government can just wake up tomorrow now and say that they have reviewed dollar or pounds and foreign currency upwards, and they've added additional 20 or 30 naira to it. Do you get? So anything can happen at any day, and did not give us notice. have beyond what you're supposed to have, and know that you can sleep well at night, whether our Nigerian government just wakes up tomorrow and say that, please, dollar is now 500. Do you get? So that's what we advise. But this is not mandatory if you don't have it. You just keep your fingers crossed and pray, and usually it still goes through, but we just do it for just in case, really. Well, it all depends. Is it not the statement that will be used to apply for CAS? It all depends. If your CAS comes out on time and the statement is still within 30 days, you can. Now, bear in mind that not all school requires your bank statement for CAS. There are some schools that will want to see your bank statement before they issue you CAS. So you have to count 28 days for your school before they issue you CAS. So if you print out your bank statement, you do your CAS interview, and then you're still waiting for your CAS, right? If it takes them 2 weeks or 3 weeks to give you your CAS, your bank statement is already like 3 weeks gone. By the time you make your application, now if you're not able to get a quick date, for your biometrics, say your date you're getting is like 10 days or 7 days or 8 days beyond when you have submitted your application, then your bank statement is already going to be over 30 days. You cannot submit a bank statement that has been printed beyond 30 days as at the time that you are making your application. Do you get? So if the period between when you submitted your bank statement for CAS and when you're submitting your bank statement for your visa is beyond 30 days or up to 30 days, then you are expected to print your bank statement again. That's what it means. So, but if you're going to a school that does not require you to have your bank statement for CAS, then you can now start counting your 28 days for the purpose of your visa application. With TLS, well, we do not have information on that, but we're assuming that they're going to close during the period of Christmas and New Year. So I'm sure that the days that are general public holidays, we're sure that they're going to close. But in terms of closing maybe on the 23rd and assuming maybe on the 3rd of January, we do not have information to that as of yet, because they have not actually announced. And when you go to their appointments portal where you pick appointments, we actually see dates in between all these days that I'm talking about. So there are dates on, I think, on the 28th and stuff like that. So for now, it doesn't seem like they're actually going to go on a break, but I cannot confirm this because I do not work with TLS. No, there is no deadline for CAS. Okay, so January intake, like I said, I will have to confirm. If you are still interested, please give us a message on our DM or call any of our numbers. I think there's 1 or 2 schools that are still doing intake. I cannot confirm this because it's the admissions department that has more details on this. But most schools, I would say about 90% have actually closed. It's still September intake. So if there's a January intake, please contact us, and then we will be able to I will be able to confirm. The admissions department will confirm for you. Okay, I didn't get the answer to my question. How long doesn't it take to get an admission? So okay, an admission, it's from the time you make an application, it takes about 2 weeks and beyond. So it depends on the school. Some schools are even as fast as 1 week, especially when you're making the application, very early. So some people right now are already putting in applications for September. Now, this December for September. So the applications will actually come out early because they are not overwhelmed. But say you're putting in your application for September in July next year, it will actually take longer because they're overwhelmed with a lot of applications. So a school rather that usually takes a week to make a decision on application, but actually take up to a month or even beyond to actually give you an admission offer. Then I also went further to say that there are 2 types of offer you're going to get, if you are seeking admission. If all your documentations are correct and complete, as to what the school requires, then you are going to be given an unconditional offer. Now, unconditional offer of admission. So what that means is that your school has accepted your application and they have given you admission, based on the documents that you've submitted, and they do not require any more documentation from you. All they will now be requiring is just for you to pay, and if they require an interview, they'll have an interview with you and then go ahead and give you your CAS so that you can apply for your visa. So that can take around 2 weeks, right? Now, if your documentation has 1 or 2 issues with it, they will still go ahead and give you an offer, but it will be a conditional offer. So the conditional offer will now come with, we have given you an offer, however, we require so and so before you can get an unconditional offer. So like I said previously, it can be maybe your English, they're not satisfied with your English. So if you submitted your WAEC, for the purpose of proving your English language proficiency, they might say your WAEC has C6 and the course you're going in for requires a C4. So you probably need to write IELTS, or you write Duolingo or TOEFL, or the school might actually have their own English exam that they actually give. So it all depends. Or maybe they say your personal statement, your statement of purpose is not all right, and they need you to review it and send in a proper one. Or they might say that what else, maybe your references from school, they need further references from school, so they might just request for further documentation. Or maybe even your transcript, if you applied with an unofficial copy of your transcript, they might require the school to actually send them your transcript from the school. So, or maybe from our own office, because we actually have partnerships with some of these schools, and if we're able to send your official transcript on your behalf and they accept it, so either from the agency or from your school before they'll accept it. So this can actually drag your admission process. So if they give you a conditional offer and they require you to write, say, an English test, if the English test they require is the IELTS will take you at least 4 weeks for you to practice to write IELTS academic exam, right? So it will take you like 4 weeks to practice. If you're doing the paper-based test, it's going to take you another like 2 weeks for your result to come out. If you're doing the computer test, it takes about a week for the result to come out. So that's adding another like 5 weeks or 6 weeks. So after you've gotten that documentation and you pass your IELTS and you submit it, they still need to review, and it still take another like 1 or 2 weeks before they now convert the conditional offer to an unconditional offer. So you see that for person A that had all the documentation, it took 2 weeks, but for person B, it's taking 2 months or 2.5 months or 3 months because they need to meet certain conditions. So that's why I'm saying that it differs, right? So just put in mind, if you have all your documents complete, it takes, depending on the school, it takes 1 to 2 weeks for some schools and up to a month for other schools. I hope I've answered your question. Land Realty, please. What documents are required for study gap of 10 years and above? Okay, so your CV one is required to show what you have been doing for that period of time. And then you now have to start showing proof. So if you were studying during that period, you have to put in certificates, maybe short studies, not masters, because you're not expected to actually do another master. So if you had any program that you were doing within that period, certifications to block those dates will be advisable. Then if you were working during this period, your employment letter, if you have promotional letters, then you can get reference letters from your company to show that, okay, you've been employed during this period in time and this is what you've been doing. If you want to go beyond that, if you have pay slips, if you have recommendation letters or whatever the case, you can now add those ones. However, we do not advise people to just do it on their own. Why? Because it might actually raise more questions. So for instance, if the correlation between the course you're going to study and what you've been doing is not there, do you get? The visa officer might say, okay, you've been working as a customer service or as maybe customer service, and right now you're going for HRM masters. Like you haven't done any course, maybe like your CIPM or something. You have not even 1 day experience in HR, and you're putting in for HRM at the master's level. That might actually raise questions, and they will now even require to actually have an interview with you to know what your motivation is for actually putting in for CRM, for HRM, which is HR, when you do not have an iota of experience in that field. Do you get? Or maybe you have submitted one type of reference to the school, and obviously you're not doing that so that the school can give you admission, and then your LinkedIn is saying something else, and then your CV is saying something else. they actually do research, and we've had refusals, from people who submitted some documentations, and then when they're actually researched on, they find out that they're actually not doing what they say that they do. So we don't just advise that you just put it like that. We need to review and make sure that we cover all the gaps, so that in case questions want to come up, we already have answers to them, and they will not require you to send further documentation or request to have an interview with you. So that's that. So those are the documents you would need if you have 10 years and above study gap. You need to show. So if, for instance, if you have a business, you have to show what you've been doing, your CSC, if if you've had contracts, people put in your contracts, all the things that you need to prove that, okay, you've been gainfully employed or you've been engaged, during that period, to show that, okay, you're not a bum, right? That you don't just want to run. How can your agency be of help? I've gotten my offer, but I'm not receiving my cash. Okay, so please just contact our counselors. They will put you through. If you've gotten your offer, I wouldn't know if you require an interview for your cash or if you should just wait. So they are going to put you through. If you require an interview, we actually prep for interviews, and if you're in Lagos, you can actually come to our office to have your interview, right? Our students come to our office, we give them an office, and then they have their interview here after we've prepped them. So if you're going to have an interview, you are free to come to our office to do that. If you do not require an interview, we will put you through on how to keep on contacting the school so as to fast track your CAS coming out, and then we can now review your application to see what documents you need to have on ground, so that immediately your CAS comes out, we are putting in your application ASAP. So general intake, I don't have confirmation on this, but I think about 1 or 2 schools I think are still open. As of today, I am not sure of this, so please contact our counseling department. They will have more information on this. I work in the visa department, so there's some information that are not off the top of my head. What happens if my TB test expires before I travel? You need to do another one. Okay, you already got your visa. It has to be 6 months. When do you want to travel, and how long do you have on your TB? It has to be 6 months. So you might have to actually do another test. If you've gotten your visa and your TB test is expiring, you might actually have to do another test. You might have to do another test. The delay in visa decision implies that most students would resume after 17 January. Would that affect the visa? No, it will not affect the decision. If you're going to be resuming beyond your resumption date, it is not going to affect your decision, right? Because the problem is coming from them, and they also know that the schools have dates beyond your resumption dates. Now, if we're putting in, say, you're putting in 1st or 2nd of January, you're putting about 1st or 2nd of January, so we will know already that 17th your visa cannot be out. You can also write a cover letter saying that you have contacted your school, you have made them aware that your visa processing is just beginning, and it might take beyond 17th for you to resume, and the school has given you go ahead, and they are aware that you are still applying for your visa. So they will be aware that the school is aware. It will not affect your decision whatsoever. No, it's not going to affect it. Yes, there are a couple of schools for May intake. Unfortunately, May does not have as robust of course choices for you to choose. So most courses are either January or September. Then a couple of courses for May, and not all schools. So it's just a couple of schools that actually do May intake, and the course selection is not much. So, but if your course falls in May and you're lucky, then yes, you can actually put in for May. So I wouldn't know which course you want to do and which school you'll be interested in going to, but yes, there are some May intakes. Okay, so we are located in Ikeja, Lagos. We also have an office in Abuja. So our contact is, I think you'll see it on our profile. That's our counseling department. My name is Rosie. In case you want to want to make visa inquiries, but for majorly all inquiries, just call our numbers on our profile, and you'll get in touch with us. So you can either send a message through WhatsApp. Somebody's there at 24/7 to attend to you, or you can call. Are there schools in the UK or USA for May intake? Yes, there are schools in the UK for May intake. For the USA, I'll need to confirm this, please, from the counseling department. I cannot give a definite answer, but there are schools for May. There are schools for May intake, but courses are limited and the schools are also limited. So I would need to know the course that you're interested in, and if you have a specific school, then we can work with that. No, okay, so my 28 days proof of fund is 28th of December, so that's when it will be 28th, right? So using standard visa application and 2 weeks quarantine, I won't meet up with January 17th deadline. Will this affect my visa application? No, like I said, it will not affect your visa application. It just means that you will not be able to meet it, and the schools are already aware of in fact, from schools that for people that already gotten visas, right? Some schools are actually already sending them communication on the quarantine, so the schools are already aware. Some schools are even going ahead to sponsor the fee for the quarantine, right? Some schools, so if your school fall within that category, lucky you. So out of your school fees, they will be deducting £2,285 and sponsoring your quarantine duration for 10 days. So the schools are aware and they are going to adjust this. So it does not affect your visa processing, not one bit. So what this means is just that your visa is going to take longer, but it does not affect the decision that the visa officer is going to arrive at. It doesn't affect. No, they are not issuing working visas right now. It's just for students. They are still working on students. Other visa applications are not. They are not issuing. Educational 10-year gap. Okay, yeah, so what that means is if your previous study was 10 years ago, say maybe you graduated 2010 or 2011 to 2020, which is when you're resuming your studies, is 10-11 years. So if you have that gap, they want to know what you'll be doing within that period, because ideally what most people do is to go for their masters within a 5-year period of their last study. So if you studied in 2020, ideally, if you graduated in 2010, ideally on or before 2015 you should have gone in for your masters. That's how they think, right? So if you've waited that long, it's now 10, 11, 12 years. How come you're not going now? What have you been doing within all this period? So they just want to know. It's for information purposes. It does not affect your decision making. What this actually does is actually delays it, because once they require further information, it actually delays your application. So I'm just telling you so that you can actually be proactive enough to ensure that you are not doing anything that will make them start asking questions and delay your application. So that's what it means. It doesn't mean that because you have a 10-year gap they are going to deny you. It just means that they just want to know what you've been doing during this period. Yes, is the embassy still open to issue visas? For student visas, yes, they are still issuing student visas. But for other visas, no. For other visas, no. I have a relation who has third class BSc. What university in the UK will accept her? Will she easily see admission? So there are some schools who actually give admissions to third class, but you have to do a program, a top up. So you cannot go directly into a master's program. You have to do a top-up program and then enter into a master's program. So usually that takes about 2 years, 18 months to 2 years for such a program. So yes, there are schools. Please contact our counseling department. They will give you the schools and the courses that are available for that person. So third class, yes, you're good to go. You can actually do a program in the UK. Even for people with HND as well, some can actually get direct masters, while some have to do a top-up program before they can actually convert their HND to a BSc and then go in for a master's. So all these options are available. Please. Oh, thank you. I'm blushing. Thank you KemC.O. What about May intake? Okay, so your May intake are very limited. So if your course, especially for engineering and computer courses, you have May intakes. But for people going in for business, HR and stuff, most of them are January and September, right? I have sent application for May. Yes, what are my chances? If the school is if there are May intakes for the course that you are looking to get into, then yes, you get your chances are good, as long as you have all the documentations ready and you submitted all the documentations. Your chances are very good. So just contact us if you want us to help you keep track of your application, and then once the visa is time for your visa, we can now help you do that. So yeah, your chances are good. You're waiting for May intake. So if your course is available during the May, please go ahead, contact us and we'll give you the options. Okay, no, I think people are just asking and asking and asking. You say you're responding to the same set of questions, or is it my internet connection? I think people are just keep asking as if they haven't actually heard. So sorry about that. Okay, so I've answered May, please. So a lot of May questions. Thank you so much. My questions well answered. Thank you. You're very welcome. Can family of 4 get accommodation easily? Okay, so family of 4, yes, you can get accommodation easily. There are people who help with accommodation, or there are sites that you can use in getting accommodation, and you can contact the landlord or landlady of that accommodation, talk to them, send some part of the payments to them even before you arrive. So yes, you can actually easily get accommodation, or you can go stay in an hotel, check accommodations that you're comfortable with before making payments. If you want assistance in this, you can please contact us. I got this month to travel, but my TB would expire in January 1. So I would advise that you travel before your TB expires, or you just go in for another TB test, please, so you do not have issues. If you are applying with your dependent and you have two kids, 3-year and 1-year-old, is it necessary for the man applicant to write a consent letter to your? Yes, please. If you're applying for your kids, you must give consent. Your partner must give consent. In fact, if you're applying with your kids and your partner is not coming with you, your husband is not coming with you, the chances of them refusing your kids are very high, right? Because ideally, you're supposed to go as a couple, and then while one person is studying, the other person has time to work and also take care of the kids. That's the thinking. So if your circumstances are, different, say you're divorced, you're widowed, or something like that, and you have sole custody of your kids, you need to show proof, and your partner has to consent to it. If not, your kids will be denied. They will give you your visa, but your kids will be denied. So please, if you need more information on this, just contact us, and then we'll give you advice like peculiar to your own case, because we need to see what your situation is. Please, what's the requirement for? It's almost an hour, so I have like 3 minutes more. What's the requirement for an HR person that wants to do social works at master's level? Okay, so training to social works from HR. Well, there's almost no correlation between HR and social works. Well, I think you need to contact our counseling department for that. But from my own experience, you would need to show certain level of things that you have done within this social work. So I'm sure that for HR, we can draw in some experiences or some inspiration or something that can actually relate to social works, and this is going to be detailed in your statement of purpose as to why you want to be you are looking to convert from an HR profession into social works, and what your motivation is for this. And bear in mind that social work is very highly competitive. It's one of the most competitive departments, right? So if you want to go in for social works, first things first, you need to apply very, very, very early, because their intake is, it's usually it usually fills up very fast, very early, and then your statement of purpose has to be very on point to defend why you want to make a switch. So it's very possible, but it just means that you need to work on it. Can your agency help with statement of accounts? I don't understand. Like, to provide statement of account for you, you have to have the statement has to be your name. In terms of statement of, no, we do not have help with statement of account. I do not understand your question. Please contact our counseling department, and maybe she can give you more information on that. Please just join in a little more about the Omicron and Nigeria red list. Okay, a little more about Omicron and Nigeria red list is that for people that are going for visiting and people that are going for medical purposes, short courses, business or whatever, you are now not able to travel to the UK except on very stringent reasons, like emergency reasons. Say maybe you have an operation or whatever, and it's for medical grounds, right? But for any other reason, you are no longer allowed into the UK as of now. You're banned, right, from Nigeria. So there is information that you can actually travel to another country, because the countries that are not within the red list, and then travel from there, but I cannot confirm this. We have to wait and see how that works. But in terms of student visas, it does not affect, because the only people that are allowed into the UK as of now are residents, people that have resident permits, and people that are citizens. Now, a student visa qualifies you as a resident. Although you're a temporary resident, it qualifies you to enter into the UK. What this means is that once you come into the UK, you must quarantine. It's a must for 10 days. From the airport, they're coming to pick you straight to the government facility, keep you there for 10 days, feed you, test you, and make sure that you're all right before you can now be allowed into the UK properly. So that cost, that amount is £2,285. So it does not affect students, but every other person, it affects them as of now. What if I've been a stay-at-home mom? If you've been a stay-at-home mom and you have had 10 years of between when you did your master's and now, it's kind of dicey, right? So please contact us so that we can, all this is going to be contained in your statement of purpose as to what you've been doing, even if you've been staying at home mom, how you've been improving yourself, what you've been doing on the sidelines and all that. So you can't just be a stay-at-home mom for that 10 years. You might have taken a break to raise your kids, but there are certain things you should have done that actually we can use to defend your decision to actually want to go in for a master's now. So that's the angle that we're going to take.